What is going on? I want to welcome you from FCore for today. It is Thursday, September 22nd. It is a day where the Pistons made a trade. Oh my goodness, I'm so hyped. The Detroit Pistons are out here making moves, and they actually went out and got a guy that I actually have wanted the Pistons to acquire for a while. This was a player that was a fantasy trade of mine that if I could go ahead and pull the trigger on a deal like this, let's just put it this way. The Pistons did something that I probably have done in 2K hundreds of times today, which tells you not only that I could be a great GM candidate someday, but in all seriousness, what it really does show is that the Detroit Pistons are actually looking to win some games and to make some moves. And it's got to stem and start from this report. It was backed up by James Edwards III, and it was initially reported by Shams Charania, confirmed by Woj, that the Detroit Pistons are in serious talks to acquire Bojan Bogdanovic from Utah in exchange for Kelly Olynyk and Saban Lee. So it looks like the Detroit Pistons will be getting the forward from the Jazz. In exchange, we will be sending over Kelly Olynyk and Saban Lee, which, if you really look at the landscape of what the Detroit Pistons gave up and what they ultimately got in return, it started with them signing Mason Plumlee. And then they flipped Mason Plumlee and they turned it into Kelly Olynyk. And then he flips Kelly Olynyk and Saban Lee and turns that into Bojan Bogdanovic. He essentially got Bogdanovic for nothing if you look at the grand scheme of things. And if you look at the landscape of what exactly they're getting, what they gave up, the Jazz reportedly wanted a first round pick in exchange for Bojan Bogdanovic. And now they're getting Kelly Olynyk and Saban Lee. They're taking on additional salary. And in exchange, the Pistons are getting a guy who not only has an expiring deal this upcoming season of about $12 million, but you're getting a guy who's a career 15-point a game scorer, a guy who just this past season averaged 18 points a game. He's going to be 33 years old this year, which he's an older player, but this is the exact type of veteran that you want to add to this locker room. This is the exact type of player that you want to add to this lineup. I mean, there's legitimate conversations of Bojan Bogdanovic coming in and starting day one. I mean, we talked about Marvin Bagley possibly being at that 4 spot. This potentially answers that question. This is a guy who, is a great 3-point shooter. Throughout his career, he's been a 40% 3-point shooter. In addition, this is a guy who can create his own shot. Defensively, he's a little bit more of a liability. That's not exactly where he thrives. However, you look at what he's been his entire career, and he's been a dependable scorer. He's been a dependable starter, and he's a guy that can get you 20 points a night if need be. And so for the Pistons to go and add that in exchange for Kelly Olynyk and Saban Lee to potentially have more salary cap going into next season, to potentially be able to bring back Bojan Bogdanovic on a potential more team-friendly deal, because if he likes playing in Detroit, if he realizes that playing alongside guys like Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham could actually really benefit him in his career, this is actually something where Detroit could bring him back on a longer-term deal if they want to. But if not, he could at the very least come in and benefit us this season. And then Detroit has the salary cap flexibility next offseason to go and potentially make even more moves. This is a genius trade by Troy Weaver, A plus 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 plus. And I'm so excited not only about the basketball fit, not only about what this means for the long-term implications of the Pistons and the flexibility that opens up for them, but then you talk about what you're giving up in return. Man, I'm sorry. I'm just reacting. I'm thirsty, man. I'm going to be coughing up a storm here. But it's a big day for the Detroit Pistons because this signals the fact that they are actually going to be trying to win some games. And the biggest thing about this trade is that Detroit didn't have to give up a single draft pick, not a second round pick, not a first round pick, not even a pick that doesn't belong to them. The only thing that they gave up in draft compensation is a player that they drafted a few years ago, which is Saban Lee, which even then, this frees up that guard rotation even more. You have a guy like Killian Hayes, who's probably going to be slipping into the second or third point guard slot on the roster, if you look at Corey Joseph, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, you could make an argument somewhere that he's the fourth, even though Cade will technically be playing the two. He really plays the one for this team. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. The important thing is looking at the basketball fit. Again, I have questions on Bojan Bogdanovic on the defensive end. I don't know as far as his role, if he's going to be coming in and playing a huge role on the offensive end, but like he doesn't have to. Like that's the thing is that he can still be extremely effective and he's going to play more of a role than Kelly Olynyk could have. And he's going to play more of a role than Saban Lee could have. Let's just be frank about that. So in the interim, the Pistons got better. The Pistons got older. The Pistons got more experience. The Pistons got a guy who is seasoned in the league, who's played around. He played on the Nets, he's played on the Pacers, he's been on those playoff teams for the Jazz. So for him to come to a division that he's familiar with, for him to come to a team that is actually looking to win some games and to make a difference. And in addition, this is kind of a tryout, like see how this fits, see what you like about this fit in Detroit. And now, arguably, he's going to play with the best playmaker of his career in Cade Cunningham. So I would argue that this is actually a pretty exciting thing for Bojan Bogdanovic as well, even though like this was a guy that, and this is where it's crazy. This was a guy a few days ago that was being linked to the Lakers and seemingly a move that the Lakers could have made. So for really all that they gave up for the Pistons to swoop in like a thief and to go get a guy like Bojan Bogdanovic, like Troy Weaver. Like we were literally just talking about the other day on a video what kind of moves he's going to make, what his trading is going to be like, what his plan is for this upcoming season, who potentially could be in the starting lineup. I mean, Rob Beard theorized that there could be two new faces in the starting lineup or some trades that could be made. This is a guy who has a legitimate case to be in the opening night starting rotation. And if not, this is our sixth man off the bench. Like, this is a guy who's going to play a significant role in this offense, in this team. In addition, a team that needed to get more shooting, they went out and just got another shooter. You pair this guy with Alec Burks on the court, that's two dependable veterans who can come in and space the floor and can consistently knock down shots. The Pistons are going to have the ability to actually try out some different combinations as well. I mean, Bogdanovic and Stewart would be an interesting pair in the front court if they wanted to go a bit more small. If they wanted to throw Bogdanovic and Duren, that's another route that they can go as well. I think this just gives Detroit a better team today and more flexibility coming forward. So I don't know how this couldn't be a slam dunk for the Pistons. The only way is like if Kelly Olynyk has some like career resurgence here in Utah and Bojan Bogdanovic like tears his ACL, but like even then, watching Kelly Olynyk this past season, I just don't think that's quite as likely of a scenario. But all in all, Bojan Bogdanovic, if you were to make a list of guys that I wanted the Pistons to add, he was at the top of the list. This is a type of player that fits what Detroit needs now perfectly. And again, with the fact that he has one less year in his contract, the Pistons are going to be taking on about $12 million of his salary this upcoming year. Rod Beard actually did a really good breakdown of the salary implications of this trade and how this is actually going to be something where Detroit, even though in the interim this looks like a great deal and it makes Detroit better today from the basketball court, Rod Beard makes the argument that it's really more so about tomorrow. He says, I'll contend that the biggest assets the Pistons gained in the trade might be the $12.2 million off the books next year, plus the roster spot this year. Bogdanovic is good, but they might get an added bonus of being able to flip his contract at the deadline, and Weaver gets even more. And that's another piece of it too. If Detroit ultimately makes a decision that this is a player that could actually help a contender, it's an expiring contract at the deadline, and the Pistons are looking to go in a different direction, and it looks like they're going to be in the lottery, they could just flip them and get some more assets. They could probably get a pick for them. So all in all, this is a great trade for Detroit. This is a good day for the Pistons, and this is another win for Troy Weaver. What do you think? Let us know in the comment section down below. But that is going to do it, folks. Thank you so much for listening. And we will catch you guys next time from Half Court. Be sure to subscribe.